What's up, everybody? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22, and this is Betting the NFL. We are back for another season of betting. It's that time of year again where we can get our futures bets in because the season hasn't quite started yet. We're still in the off season, but that doesn't mean we can't still make bets for what's going to happen, and I can't do that without my co-host, as always. Derek Wesley, also known as DWeezy. What is going on, man?
Man, it's good to be back in the saddle. Like you said, it's that time of year. It's summertime. OTAs are going about, training camps are starting up. It's what everybody's been waiting for. We had the draft a little while back, and that keeps most people at bay, but it only does so much. And we're almost to the end of talking season and getting to actual football being played. So, like you said, definitely opportunity to jump in on some futures and to see how things are potentially going to play out. And if if people was watching last year, a lot of these divisions and some of these futures, we were spot on. And I know that if I'm not mistaken, the AFC East was one of those divisions. Last year I was a big time fade on the Patriots. That seemed to play out in my favor. I said they'd be a top 5 pick going into the
I think
draft.
this is probably one of the divisions that we got most right.
I'm I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely lean that way. So
Yeah, because I think
I'm
we both had the Bills, both had the Patriots in last, and then Jets and Dolphins in the middle. Pretty much how it worked out. It's pretty much what we at least I remember betting on as far as over and unders and what place they would come in. So yeah, and like you just mentioned, we are going, and as the title of this episode says, we are going over the AFC East futures. We are going over the their odds to win the division, their odds to their over and under win total, and we'll also the odds on will they make the playoffs, yes or no, and we'll break down each team in the division and look at their odds and how they will do on each of those bets. And we'll tell you our bets and what we think and what we're going to put our money on for this upcoming NFL season. But before we do that, we got to say what's up to Adelia. How's it going? Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for everybody who's tuning in, whether you're watching live or whether you're going to watch this after. Um, Great to have you here. But
And that's the beauty of these future plays with the season not even kicking up yet. You might see some slight movement on some of these numbers, but for the large majority of them, whether you're watching this video live tomorrow or even a month from now, you're likely to still find the same odds or close to the same odds.
for sure. All right. Well, we'll get right into it. We'll start off with it. Like I said, we are doing the AFC East division, and the front runner for the with the best odds to win this division, as they have been for the fourth straight season now, as the favorite coming in to win this division, as they've won the division um, 4 straight times. That is the Buffalo Bills. Last year in 2023, they went 11-6. They won the division. Was closer than previous years, and they're plus 100 going into the 2023 season as the favorite. They are again at a plus number this season at plus. The best number I saw with the best odds was at Caesars Sportsbook, and they had them at plus 180 to win the division. Um, so yeah, you got the best odds. Their over under win total is set at 10.5. But yeah, we'll go over what they did last season. Like I said, they went 11-6. They were kind of up and down until week 14 when they did win 5 straight games and won the division and pretty much in the last week of the season. But once again, they ran into the Kansas City Chiefs and lost another heartbreaking game in the divisional round as they missed field goal um, in that playoff game. Say what's up, my dad. What's going on? And then in the offseason in free agency, they lose Gabe Davis, Leonard Floyd, center Mitch Morris, cornerback Tre'Davious White, safety Jordan Poyer, receiver Trent Sherfield, defensive tackle Tim Settle, and running back Naheem Hines. Um, but they try to replace it in free agency with receiver Curtis Samuels and receiver MBS, right tackle Collins, receiver Chase Claypool, defensive tackle Austin Johnson, safety Mike Edwards. And they also, in the draft in round 2, they take Keon Coleman, receiver out of Florida State. They take Cole Bishop, safety out of Utah. And in round 3, they take Dwayne Carter, defensive tackle out of Duke, to try to um, fix what they lost. A lot of players they've lost on this offseason. They're going to have a little bit of a transitional period at the beginning. But so what do you think their odds to win this division, their odds to go over or under 10.5, and do they make the playoffs?
Coming into this season, honestly, I am not very high on the Buffalo Bills. And the biggest name that you didn't mention was the trade of Stephon Diggs. And as you stated, multiple wide receivers, whether through the free agency and the draft, trying to fill that void. Coming into the season, we're going to see offensive coordinator Joe Brady basically full-time in the position. He took over somewhere around the mid-season point. Now, something that's worth noting about last season, before they went on that winning streak, they were on the brink of elimination, of not even making the playoffs, whether it be wild card or winning the division. And without that 5-game winning streak, I think it would have been a completely different outlook on their season coming into the season. I think you could possibly look towards James Cook as a possible player props. Joe Brady, he really likes to utilize the running back position, whether it be the pass game, the running game. We saw that in New Orleans with Alvin Kamara. We saw what he did with Panthers with his short stint there, having CMC in the backfield, and now we see him in Buffalo. And the numbers may not reflect it, but I do feel that James Cook, towards the end of the season, was getting a lot more utilization within the offense, and that could possibly lean towards more involvement from Joe Brady taking over for Ken Dorsey. So like I said, I'm not high on them. 10.5, I do think it's potentially possible for them to cover that number. Looking at their schedule, I could see them winning 11 games. So, right on the doorstep of that number. I definitely, it's juice to the over. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, as you said, they've won the division 4 straight years. I don't feel that outside of Miami, they have any competition from any of the other 2 teams in the division when it comes to who might be the outright winner of the division at the end of the season. So, I'd want to lean to the under, because I do feel there's going to be some drawback on the offensive side of the ball. But with what we've seen in the past, it's kind of a situation where you got to prove me wrong. And they've cleared this. 10.5 is a number they've cleared multiple times over the past few years. And in a division that might end up being not necessarily one of the weaker divisions, but definitely not a powerhouse when it comes to looking over all 4 teams. So, me personally, I wouldn't be touching the wins, but like I said, I would have to lean to the under 10.5 on that number.
All right. I will say what's up to Jay. What's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in to the show. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, there's a lot of replacements they have to make, a lot of losses that they had in the offseason. So I do think they might start off slow coming into the season, might not have as too many wins at the beginning period, but I could see them getting hot later on once they get together. I mean, they still have one consistent thing as Josh Allen, who like we always said, they live and die by what Josh Allen does, and he's still a good, obviously he's still a really good quarterback. So I can see them getting hot late and hitting the over. And I just like things that are consistent. If you show me history that they've done it multiple times in the recent years, I'm more than likely going to take that bet until they don't. I like going with stuff that until they show me that they can't, I'm gonna keep riding it until it falls off. Um, so
And
I
that's
like,
that's not a bad logic, especially in sports gambling. Winners bet trends, and I wouldn't feel as uneasy about a under 10.5 if we were talking about a team that maybe had a 8-win season, a 9-win season, flirted with that a double-digit win season, but that's not the case. We're talking about a team that it's basically double digits. I'd have to double check it, but every season for at least
every
the past
season,
4 or 5 years.
yeah,
Uh, so I if I'm not mistaken, I think last year the number may have been around 11.5. So slightly higher, seeing a little bit of regression, but I wouldn't feel uneasy about the under, and even the juice says it. You know, when it comes to the over 10.5.
yeah. And then of course, I do think they make the playoffs with the 11 games. I think that be enough. But to win the division, I wouldn't take them to win the division. I don't think 11 is going to be enough to win it. Um, I think you know there's another team in this division that will maybe have more wins than that. So I don't like them to win the division. I wouldn't put my money on that. So I'm gonna stay away from that and them putting money on them, whether yes or no. And then, but yes, I do like them to make the playoffs, get 11 wins, and be at a wild card spot. And that is what I'm going to put my money on.
Yeah, I agree with you on that 11 wins. Like I said, it's the number I came to. Yes, that could fluctuate slightly. Being on the nose of that 10.5, and I agree with you as well that this won't win them the division, because there's another team in this division I see getting at least 12 wins, and that could be slightly generous.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to the team with the second best odds to win the division. That is the New York Jets. Their odds are set at um, plus 190 um, at various sports books. Um, Last season they went 7-10. They finished third in the AFC East. They did not make the playoffs. The Jets had big aspirations after they signed Aaron Rodgers in the offseason. But then 4 plays into the season, that all went down the shithole.
I'm telling you, for those out there that want to say the NFL is scripted, you could argue Roger Goodell was like, yeah, we're taking Rodgers out of this season. Put him in a coma. We'll bring him back next season.
Yeah. So bad quarterback play led to putting pretty much all the pressure on their defense, resulting in a pretty lackluster season with a lot of disappointment. Still able to get on a little bit, better what they had been towards the end of the season. They still get 7 wins um, with what they had at quarterback, but in the offseason free agency, they lost Bryce Huff, linebacker, safety Jordan Whitehead, defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson, and right tackle Mekhi Becton. And then they add quarterback Tyrod Taylor, receiver Mike Williams, defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw, left tackle Tyron Smith, guard John Simpson, and then they draft. Don't know how I say his first name, but in the first round they take Fashanu out of Penn State, he's an offensive tackle. In round 3, they take Malachi Conley out of Western Kentucky, receiver. And in round 4, they take running back Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin. So with them hopefully getting Rodgers back, even though he will be coming off an Achilles tear, What do you think their chances of winning this division, making the playoffs, and their over under win total is set at 9.5 games? Before you do, we'll see. Jay's comments. Jay says Jets trying to get the times double the offense. Yeah, yeah, that's true. But what do you think of their chances?
I don't back the hype that the Jets seem to be getting. I think there's still a lot of questions out there because nobody knows what this team will actually look like when we see them suit up and get on the field. Um, all this is basically operating off assumptions. They're assuming that Rodgers is going to play two levels that we've seen before, and I'm not even talking about the ACL injury. Just the simple fact we haven't seen him play with this team at all. It's that
And
simple.
last year, I think we were both down on the Jets.
Yeah, I was
I
not
think, yeah,
big.
we were both not going for this whole Aaron Rodgers thing that he was going to come in and change everything and make everything all good. We both didn't believe in it. We hit it right on.
Yeah, and if I'm
I
not
mean, it
mistaken,
didn't. I mean, he unfortunately got hurt, but still, we either way, we didn't think it was going to work out.
and we see a lot of those receivers that his guys he brought in no longer there or so far on the back burner you don't even know they're there. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of questions surrounding this team. Yes, Brees Hall seems to be a top NFL running back. Garrett Wilson, seems to be on par with yeah, top 10 wide receiver receiving wise when you're talking about the season being done. Um, so this team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it just seemed to be a quarterback away. So, yes, if you feel that Aaron Rodgers can come in and provide consistent enough uh, production, at least in comparison to some of the seasons we've seen out of him before, this team can go a long ways. The question is, how long will Aaron Rodgers stay upright? And what will this team actually look like when they get on the field? Now, if I was to look at some of the props, I definitely think Garrett Wilson going over 11, was it 1125, 1125 receiving yards. I think that number is a bit low because we saw what he did with horrible quarterback play. So you put somebody back there that can actually throw the ball, put the ball in, wide receiver friendly locations. I think that's just a low number. The big play capability. Um, I think we'll see some exciting things out of this offense, but I still only see this team winning 7-8 games on the season. You still have to play Buffalo twice this year. You still have to play Miami twice this year. And if you look at their schedule, I don't have it in front of me, but there's, a number of tough opponents throughout that entire schedule, especially on the back half. First 8 games, I could see them going 5-3, somewhere in that range. It's when you start to get into those, the rest of the season. And, I see them finishing in the 7-8 win range. So we're only talking about them potentially winning 2-3 games in the second half of that of the season. Uh, so yes, is there reasons to be excited if you're a Jets fan? Of course, because you finally get to see this experiment unfold. But I'm not on the Jets train, and it's that simple. Too many questions, no actual consistency, and you can likely find a better number by the time the season starts, if not a week or two in.
Yeah. Like I said, we were both down on before Aaron Rodgers got hurt. I don't see him being coming off an Achilles injury. Why that would change my opinion. It wasn't going to work last year. It's not going to work this year, especially after the injury. Um, I don't think they have enough weapons. I mean, even Jay says, they signed Mike Williams, even though they had Lazard's injury prone. They don't have enough. They have Garrett Wilson. That's it. Obviously, they have good running backs. As Jay says, they drafted 2 running backs when they already had Brees Hall as well. They got running backs, but I don't think they have enough weapons at receiver. So I don't think that helps Aaron Rodgers coming into the season. So I don't like them. I'll take the under on 9.5. I like them at right at 9 games. I'll put no money on them to win the division. And the best number I see at on the playoffs, yes or no? No is at plus 176 on FanDuel. So that's the best number I saw. So if you don't have faith in the Jets, I would say bet on that number.
That's a pretty juicy number right there. Cause
Yeah,
like I said, I feel very comfortable taking anything under that 9.5. This quite possibly could be the last year for the head coach Saleh. Just with the way things have shaken out over his tenure there. So yeah, I think there's more going wrong than going right for the Jets.
We'll say what's up to Devon. What's going on, man? Yeah, you can watch us live, watch us replay. Doesn't matter. Yeah, plenty of time to get your bets in before the season. So, it's all good, man. All right, we'll move on to the team with the third best odds to win this division. And that is the Miami Dolphins, which is surprising. I really thought they would be coming at number 2. I did not think. I mean, apparently Vegas likes Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets more, or all the sports book like them more than the Miami Dolphins, which is weird because the Dolphins were on the brink of winning the division last year, coming at 11-6, second in the AFC East division. They lost in the wild card round of the playoffs. Again,
And never mind, it was forget sports talk. It was a historically cold game. What are we talking about? -5. Like literally, people were losing toes and fingers in the crowd from exposure. So I would have been truly excited to see that matchup on any normal weather instances. Hell, normal cold, just a little 30 degrees and light snow. Cause -5, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, with the healthy Tua, the Dolphins were able to have a very explosive offense, but um, which improved their win total from last season. But they definitely stumbled in that playoff game. Of course, it was freezing, like you said, and it really killed their explosiveness that their offense had. But they do have the third best odds. There, what I saw in various sports books at plus 210 to win it. And then they have the win total set at 9.5. And yeah, so in the off season in free agency, they add linebacker Jordan Brooks, center Aaron Brewer, cornerback Kendall Fuller, tight end Johnny Smith, and cornerback Shaq Barrett. They do and add also OBJ, Jordan Poyer, and Calais Campbell. The departures were Christian Wilkins, big defensive tackle, guard Robert Hunt, safety Brandon Jones, linebacker Andrew Van Inkel, and safety Deshaun Elliott. Receiver Cedric Wilson, receiver Chase Claypool. They do add in the draft, first round, defensive end Chop Robinson from Penn State, offensive tackle Patrick Paul from Houston. And in round 4, they take Jalen Wright, running back out of Tennessee. So do you think they did enough this off season to finally win this division over the Buffalo Bills? And do you think they will make the playoffs? And do you see them going over or under 9.5 wins?
Well, I gotta say, yes, I do think this is the year because it was injury at the end towards the end of last season that not necessarily hindered them, but definitely force them into positions where you couldn't necessarily give certain players, an extra couple snaps of rest. You had to have them out there on the field, and ultimately it ended up working against them. Um, the backfield for the most part has been retained. We saw Mostert and Ache, I believe is how you say it, but the man in 11 games had 1,000 total yards and 11 TDs coming into this season, and that was as a rookie. Coming into this season, he's had a full off season. He'll have a full, another training camp under his belt. He's, etching, yeah. But yes, I definitely think if he stays healthy all season, we could be talking about him as the RB1. Clearly, McDaniels has not shied away from the run game. Coming from that Shanahan tree where you see the wild blocking schemes, it's a crazy design, but it's so compact and flows together that when they execute it, it looks so simple, and it ain't that simple. But I do think the running backs will be incorporated a lot. I would look at potentially targeting some of the overs on that running back and his props, just because, like I said, which in 11 games last season where it was clear that it was not necessarily backfield by committee, but they were sharing the rock. They were sharing the load in the running game. And the man still got 11 TDs, 1,000 total yards, and that was just in 11 games. So seeing him with a full season, Tua was able to stay healthy, and that was the main concern going through last year was, could Tua stay upright and stay healthy? And he may not have the strongest arm. He may not be the best deep ball thrower, but from what we've seen over the past couple of years, he can clearly excel in this system. And when you got Tyreek Hill and Waddle out there, you ain't got to be the best quarterback in the league. You just got to get the ball to your playmakers. And if Tua does that, I see this team not only winning the division, I see them going way over this, win total of 9.5. I couldn't believe it was this low. I see them potentially winning 12 games on the season. And, like I said, they could possibly win one or two more games. So why this number is at 9.5, I have no clue. As you said, they've added depth through the off season. I wouldn't be looking towards any of the players they brought in as far as major production. But, having a Calais Campbell that you can bring in for a handful of snaps, be a pass rush specialist, that's an added weapon. That's something that's going to keep other players fresher, longer into the season and into the playoffs. And, as I said, I see this team winning the division. They're going way over this number, 9.5. And, if Tyreek Hill has another season like he has last year, you could potentially look at him for MVP odds. And I imagine those would be pretty juicy given that the market is so heavily driven by the quarterback position. But if we're talking about a scenario where it's a wide receiver potentially going for 2,000 yards, I think that's a hands down MVP season. So I definitely think there are some angles and opportunities when it comes to the Miami Dolphins in this season.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the same page once again. I do like them to win this division. Like I said, the best number is at plus 210 on various sports books. Definitely like them to go over that 9.5, way over. I do like them at 12 games. The best number is at minus 120 at Caesars Sportsbook. And then to obviously, if they're going to win the division, go over that win total. They're definitely making the playoffs. The best number I saw is minus 135, and that is at Caesars Sportsbook.
And yeah, I think that hints at, 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 I think that hin Even the book doesn't like this number at 9.5 because you're talking about minus 135 to at minimum make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically saying they're going to win 9 or 10 games, and even in that scenario, possibly finish second in the division. And so,
Yeah.
you know, I something ain't right with that number. You know,
Well, it's different sports books. Like the plus 210 is at different ones to win the division. Of course, so it's just what I looked at it as the best odds. The what you can make the most money at. Um, it just seems that Caesars, obviously, like you said, Caesars likes them better than some other sports books, and that's why you gotta look around. You gotta look for the best number.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, I think like their offense. I don't see them really falling off. I mean, they scored 70 points last season. I mean, this offense
Yeah,
is extremely.
regardless of who you're playing, that's a statement in itself.
Yeah, so I just think that continues on this season. I don't see. I mean, they got the same coach, same quarterback, same receivers. There's no reason why it should fall off. They obviously, like I said, they add well, a couple weapons in the draft at running back when they already had a good running back. So I mean, I can't see it really changing much. Defense might give up more points. They did lose some significant pieces like Christian Wilkins and some safeties. So that the defense might take a hit, but I think the offense keeps them afloat and it gets them to 12 games at minimum. All right, now we'll get to the team with the worst odds to win the division, and of course that is the New England Patriots. Um, season they were in 2023 they were 4-13 last in the AFC East, no playoffs. It finished for last for the first time since 2000. It's basically the worst season ever under Bill Belichick, which is the reason why they did fire him. And it was a worst season since 1992. I mean, it was just a god awful season for the New England Patriots. Just not, I mean, they just had an absolute lack of talent offensively, especially at the quarterback position. They went back and forth. Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi didn't lead to very many wins. Ultimately, led to them finally ending the Bill Belichick era. And they were interesting. They were last in scoring, getting shut out twice, and couldn't score 20 points in 12 games. This offense was historically bad in NFL history. They were so they were terrible. But in this offseason, they did go out and get Antonio Gibson, running back from Washington, quarterback Jacoby Brissett, wide receiver KJ Osborne. Um, and then they lose Mac Wilson, linebacker, right tackle Trent Brown, tight end Mike Gesicki, and running back Ezekiel Elliott. But in the draft, in round one, they took quarterback Drake May out of North Carolina. And in round two, they take wide receiver Jalen Polk out of Washington. And in round three, they take off the tackle Gabe Wallace from Penn State. Like I said, the odds are plus 2,800 to win the division. Very long odds. The over under win total is at 4.5. And and their playoff, their favorite for no to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean this is definitely a team that could easily be one that you want to fade week to week the entire season. I mean, we saw last year that there was a number of ways to fade this team, whether you're talking about just straight up, you know, on the money line with the other team winning. Uh, as you said, this team was shut out twice. I'd love to see a statistic of how many teams have been shut out twice in the same season, uh, because I guarantee you it's a very low number. Um, we see them attempt to. It's officially a rebuild season. I think the number, 4.5. It's a fair number. You look at the schedule. It's a bit of a struggle to find 4 wins. That's where I had it. Maybe they somehow fall their way into 5, get to play somebody that's been beat up, or but I would definitely I'd go with the under that 4.5. I know unders are almost like a dirty word in the sports betting world. Everybody loves an over. Well, it takes a real iron stomach to play under 4.5. And if I was to mess around with this game, with the win total, that's the way I'd have to go, is with the under 4.5, because even yes, there's a lot of hype behind the quarterback Drake May coming out of UNC. But unfortunately, that's the case regardless of who you're talking about when it comes to quarterbacks drafted in the first round in the NFL. Doesn't matter where they played, doesn't matter what they did. Everybody's going to say they're the next franchise quarterback. They're the next quarterback god. It's that simple. You got to get them on the field. You got to see what they can do. And kind of like with the Jets, there's way too many questions around this team to potentially try and target any kind of overs, whether we're talking player props, game wins. You got a rookie head coach paired with a rookie quarterback. It'll be very interesting to see what takes place, because unfortunately, this could be a team that doesn't see more than 5-6 wins over the course of the next 2-3 seasons, because as it stands right now, outside of potential, there's not much on this roster that you can look at and point at as that's what's going to keep them afloat over the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I agree again. We seem to agree on all these.
That is very scary given
yeah,
how last season went.
yeah, definitely.
Folks, you might have to run out and bet the 2,800 on the New England Patriots to win the division.
Yeah, yeah, I might maybe put a little $5 on it. I can make an argument for that. I can make an argument for that because we were low on well, at least I was low on the Texans from what I can remember. I bet under. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. I was very low on them, and they proved me wrong. They totally did the opposite of that, and it was a very similar situation. They were without a rookie quarterback, a rookie head coach who was a defensive coach. We didn't think they had a lot of talents over there in Houston. They turned out to be a lot of talents, but I didn't think they did before the season. So to me, it's a very similar situation that could end up going that way and surprising a lot of people, and them and then doing. So I mean, we just saw it. I mean, it's not like it's so unlikely when we literally just saw that happen last
You're
season.
absolutely right. And, in line with kind of what you were saying in the, realm of hypothetical, what will the Dolphins look like if Tua goes down? The same could be said in Buffalo with Josh Allen, but, you could also make the argument, what if none of these receivers pan out because the Buffalo Bills are, at least from a team perspective, are investing a lot in, like Curtis Samuel, who's basically a journeyman at this point in the NFL. Shakir, who has, stepped up over the past few seasons, but will that translate now that he doesn't have a Stephon Diggs on the other side of the field demanding double teams the entire game? So, it's not impossible, though I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely, but yeah, but I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think you'd be dumb for maybe throwing just a little money, just see what happens, just see what happens.
Crazier
And
things have happened.
at plus 2,800, come on, it's definitely a big profit for you. But I gotta go with what's reasonable, and that is taking the under. Taking no from the best number you can get is at NGN Sportsbook, and that is minus 900 for no. That's basically they're saying it's a for sure no, they're not going to make the playoffs. when you see that kind of number. But yeah, at that point, I mean, yeah, I'll take it, but I wouldn't really put any money because you're really not gonna you have to put up so much money. It's really not worth it at that point. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't even bet on that, to be honest. I'll just take the under because you get that at plus 166, 167 at very sports book. Which if you get a positive number on the under, that's really good.
Yeah,
That's really good.
that's something I was about to bring up myself. Where I was looking, it was minus 150 on the over, plus 120 for that under, and anytime you get a hell, you happy if you see plus 105 on any sort of spreads or numbers like this. You're talking about plus 120, plus 140, plus 150, something in that range. Oh hell yeah, that understart. You know, it ain't an easy play. You're definitely gonna be mad every time they win a game, even if it's only once every 3 or 4, 4 or 5 weeks. The way this team might end up playing. But yeah, you're talking about like I said to begin with, I like under 4.5. It's not an easy play, but you're gonna give it to me with a plus number. That makes it even easier for me to play.
Yeah. But yeah, that'll wrap up this AFC East futures um episode. But again, we'll be back next week to do the AFC South. Um, and we'll do it just like we just did, break it all down and give you our thoughts and what we're putting our money on each of those teams in that division. But for now, you can tell everybody where they can find you, DWeezy.
Y'all can reach me at Backyard Action Media here on YouTube, and also the Yard Bets on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Um, and we'll be. It's the brand new season, so there's definitely a lot of content, coming here on Betting the NFL. We got futures, maybe a few more player props, depending on what things are looking like. And, as the season starts to kick off, can't wait to jump into some of the spreads and game totals and potentially even more player props as, sports gambling, especially the online and mobile, has spread to more and more states. You start to see more markets, regardless of if it started in one place and it had some popularity, so now they're trying it out in a different place. Um, just the more activity that some of these sports books see that have holdings in multiple states, it's natural business. You want to see if this will produce in the same way as in other areas. And so it's always interesting to see what markets come about throughout the season and, at the beginning of a new season. So there's definitely some opportunities out there for us to try and make some money.
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely get your bets in before the season. Obviously, I have plenty of time to do so. But thank you all for watching. Hopefully, you guys tune in for all our episodes coming up this betting season of Betting the NFL. We very much appreciate you all for tuning in. But I, but what I should have been saying this whole time. We've been doing this for a few years now, but I would like to finally start saying this. And please bet responsibly. Only bet what you can afford to lose. Um, and yeah, just be careful out there. And like I always say, let's get ready to make that money.